What is meant by any other relevant information collected, managed, or maintained by an entity having cognizance over matters related to law enforcement and criminal justice? And this is totally new language. There's got to be a need for it.
Sure.
What's meant by that?
Sure, absolutely. And we're actually working with the governor's office and OPM's criminal justice policy and planning folks to clarify this section a little bit and make it very specific around non-offender based data. And we'll tell you why we want to add that. And I'm going to ask Mark to tell you a little bit about the history of the system and the data that's shared in it.
All right. Let me see if I can just clarify. What's happening is that we built the Connecticut Information Sharing System, and it has a Google-like search. We brought 14 criminal justice source systems in one location. They're cross-index. Law enforcement can do one-stop shop instead of going to 14 different separate areas. Okay. And it has a workflow. Police officers don't have to drive every arrest to the court systems. Takes hours and minutes. I'm sorry, minutes and hours. It goes in seconds, okay? And we agreed on what data is going to go in this system when we put it together. There was a contract through an RFP that the state basically signed with Xerox, and the data that was going to be used in this system was going to be both offender and non-offender data available to law enforcement at that time, all right? And we basically have built the system that way. And specifically, the weapons database, for example, and the wanted file from a DSPP are really where we're having a glitch here. We agreed with DPS, Department of Public Safety at the time, now it's DSPP, but it's larger, to share that data. They agreed that basically we will share that data in the system. We built it, we deployed it, everybody's using it. They like it. It helps officers go into a certain event like domestic violence to understand are there weapons there, to avoid walking into a situation that could be dangerous and handle it differently. As administrations within DSPP changed, we get different commissioners, we get different technical folks, different legal folks. Recently we're understanding that their interpretation of the original legislation language was that it should be offender only. Okay, and nobody else understood it that way prior, including the Assistant Attorney General who signed the contract to build the system at the time in 2010. So we're at an impasse. We're trying to basically continue getting the weapons data inside the Connecticut Information Sharing System for sworn law enforcement. And that data has been discontinued because their legal folks are interpreting that it should be offender only. Now, we went to the Assistant Attorney General's office, and they interpreted that, well, look, on the top of the legislation, it says offender data, and then under it, it says, and other data, including non-offender data. So from the hierarchy, they're thinking basically their interpretation today, which was different then, is that it should be offender data, or the legislation needs to clarify, all right? Because the legislation is ambiguous enough so that a lot of legal folks are interpreting it this way, we need to help clarify that for the future. Whatever decisions are made to include offender and non-offender data today, as other administrations come in, other commissioners and legal folks come in, we're going to have the same problem. The other big problem is that if we're forced to take out this data that we put in there, we're going to break this thing. It costs like $100 million to put together over 10 years. So we'd like to get some clarification that the original intent was to include both offender and non-offender data that is currently available to law enforcement. We're not looking to go beyond those parameters. And, you know, the same data, the weapons data, for example, and the wanted data are available to law enforcement from other systems, not this central system. It's available in the collect system. So the ask here is, can we clarify that the intent is to basically allow the use of offender and non-offender data for the Connecticut Information Sharing System that's available, that's normally available to law enforcement. That is the gist of the whole thing here. That's what we're looking for. And somehow we need to Clarify the language to reflect that. And that's the ask.
Understood. And of course, George Orwell wrote about such things prior to his death. I'm a little concerned. I mean, if you're representing to me that law enforcement doesn't know about whether or not there's possibly a firearm in someone's home prior to them going to a scene, that is not true. I mean, they can run everybody who's known to live in the house. They could find out whether or not they have certain firearms permits. But ultimately, you don't know about all the guns that are in this state. People get arrested all the time in our cities that shouldn't be possessing firearms, and there's no way for an officer to know if they go to that house whether or not a firearm is there. But, you know, one of the things that I've been concerned about is the government tracking individuals through, like, license plate readers. Now, and I recognize that there is no statute that mandates the retention period for that information. So, you know, that's information that would go into the system. Because we don't know what the word relevant means. Relevance only happens at the time that the information is utilized, right? So when we say any other relevant information collected, maintained, managed by an entity having cognizance over matters related to law enforcement and criminal justice, what it really means is all information collected, right, as written. So, you know, I'm all in favor of police officers being safe, but, you know, if that's the cover under which we say that all information collected by law enforcement is going to be put into the system for non-offenders, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, I got problems with that. So I look forward to whatever language the governor crafts to clarify this. I understand the representations here today, but I'm a little concerned.